Google comes up and every once in a while they have like a special image on Google to commemorate like a special occasion.
Oh yeah.
And today is the 30th anniversary of the internet.
Oh.
Not like a website, but the World Wide Web. Today's the 30th anniversary, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then there's pictures of this gentleman who is credited as the inventor of the internet. I just thought that was so crazy.
Is it kind of an animation thing or a photo?
No,
it is really a photo.
Yeah, it's a picture of the guy.
Okay.
So if you just go to like the regular Google,
Oh.
that's like the pixelated piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you click on it and then it gives you like a history lesson of, they do it for like Women's Day or if,
Yeah.
to commemorate one of the Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
they do these commemoration pieces. So, this dude is a sir. He's been knighted by the English, by the Queen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But what a fucking achievement, hey, to be credited as the guy who invented the internet.
Yeah, and it started in the military, right?
Did it? I don't know.
I don't know. No, I think it was a system that they made to connect the universities, or it's either
Okay.
one or the other. I think or it's military or universities. I don't recall.
I'm sure it started off as something completely different than in what it is now. Like they probably had one idea for it, and then it just grew and grew and grew. Kind of the way like Facebook was one thing, and now it's a million other things as well, and so much bigger. But yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of people have grown up their whole life having it. They've known it for. It's the only thing they've known is a life with the internet. And then there's people that it's a new thing, like people that are my grandmother's age. We got her an iPad a couple months ago. She's going to be 90 this year. And, having to teach her what the actual internet is and explain it to her in like metaphors and things like that. And it's crazy that in someone's lifetime, like, they've been through wars, all this history, and then the internet being invented, but and then living with no internet to having the internet. It's really interesting, man. So people that grew up without it, it's hard for them to wrap their heads around it.
And as you said, 30 seems kind of a short time, right? Seems it's longer than that, but
Yeah.
impressive how much it evolved in such 3 decades.
I'm going to be 30 this year. So I'm the same age as the
Okay.
internet. And I remember being 8 years old and being like first shown how to like use a search engine and stuff like that. And it was so foreign to me. And now it's just second nature. Like these are things that we do all day long, every day, and we take for granted, right?
What's your first web browser? Alta Vista, Netscape? Do you recall?
It was like Ask Jeeves.
Oh, I never heard of that one.
No.
Okay.
In my elementary school, we had those. I don't remember what they're called. Everyone knows what they look like, though. Those square iMacs that were like orange and
Yeah, yeah.
turquoise. They had those in the library at my elementary school. Had the little CD drive on the front, and they were clear, and they had those. The mouse was like circular. Those are the Steve Jobs days, man. I miss those days. Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And it was creative and fun.
Yeah.
Everything's all gray and black. But yeah, learning how to search the internet. A friend was like, "Yeah, you just like put a word in here and then enter it."
And just text for results, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just ask the internet anything you want. It's like a magic wand. How does the internet affect you as an artist and like what you do and what you're trying to achieve?
Nowadays?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a puzzle, man, for me.
Yeah.
I think it's all about... It's kind of a tool that allows every musician to kind of be an artist, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's so much content. So it's a great tool for a fact, but there are many ways in using it, and it's something that I'm kind of trying to evolve. But it's all about the internet, right?
Yeah.
Even I see these new contestant TV shows with all the budget and the high end structures, studios and producers involved, mixing engineers, mastering engineers, and at the end of the day, you never know if it's gonna be a hit song.
Yeah.
You see, I recently saw one of these shows, and they have this new logistics where at the end they release a single with an
Okay.
artist they select,
Okay.
and you're gonna check out in Spotify, and occasionally it just doesn't have many streams. So
And it came from a show that's supposedly
a
supposed to have
mainstream
all of this
production
production behind it,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
yeah, like that makes me think about, those people that go into those shows like American Idol, and they've just disappeared now. Like they think that winning that show is they're set for life. Like, if I win American Idol, I'm the next Michael Jackson. People are gonna love me forever. But it's
Yeah.
like, I can name like 2 American Idols ever, and there's that show's been going on 20 years. It takes more than just winning a contest to be relevant and to stay in the public's eyes, right? Even with, like you said, all of like the best people working on the project, mixing engineers and producers, and it's so weird, right? Like we were saying this yesterday, like there is no formula really for success in this industry, or there's no blueprint. It's like you really never know who's going to be the next big thing, what's going to blow up, what's going to be trendy. You just have to be in it because you love it, not trying to. You shouldn't be in it to blow up. There should be a side effect.
Yeah, there's the hope that at least a big percentage of these people that had some kind of success in these types of shows, hopefully they are still able to at least get some contract with maybe a hotel or a chain or something, that they are able to support themselves by still playing, even if covers, right? Not maybe they don't have the record deals to release their own material, but hopefully at least it serves well for people that are able to maybe join a cover band or something, that they have like an audience to at least get a good paycheck, right?
Yeah, those casinos and hotels and cruise ships stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those are the people that we think of them as like they're washed up. And when you're performing on a cruise ship, you're like, you didn't make it, or you made it and now you're not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess for those people, it's like you said, it's a way to support themselves. And if they still love it and they genuinely just enjoy the process of performing for people and doing their thing, then I'm happy for them. There's so many ways to make money in this industry. It doesn't have to you don't have to just be like the next Bieber. You can use your talents in so many different ways, writing jingles for television commercials, for a toothpaste commercial or a cereal commercial. And if you're a good enough songwriter and it's catchy enough, and you collect royalties that way, make money that way for the rest of your life. That's what I'm trying to get better at, is diversify myself even more, trying to start this podcast and realizing that at the studio I can offer these services, these audio services, in a lot of other ways, not just having rappers come through, but someone wants to do an audiobook, want to do a podcast. I know how to run Pro Tools, just have to have a couple good microphones and a good room, and you can come in and be creative in a lot of different ways than writing a rap song or playing a guitar and singing. Audio is audio. And so I really want to know more about your background, though. Like, you're newish to Vancouver. English is your second language. And you're originally from I can't remember how to pronounce it, but this island, right, in Brazil.
Yes, it's called Florianopolis.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about, what it was like growing up there, and then what brought you over to Vancouver.
So it was a kind of smallish city. It's not small, but it's because it is kind of a touristy place.
Okay.
So it has some kind of movement and a nice and vibrant atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with the drums when I was, I don't know, maybe 13 or something. Played with some bands in the local scene. But I was a bit divided in between playing soccer and playing sports and music.
Mm.
And so it took a while to take in consideration maybe pursuing music on allowing it to be something stronger in my life.
Yeah.
Because I don't come from a musical family. So it wasn't the obvious choice.
Right.
So I always tried to reconcile, to in parallel do some other rational things to not bother my parents, you know what I mean? So they got a sense that it was kind of a hobby thing. I kind of regret doing this because then I probably would have more results than I have so far. But, and then when I was kind of a bit more intense in the other type of business I was involved in, I worked with advertising. I had a small agency there for local clients, and I had to stop playing with a band. And as I felt, as I was alone, musically speaking, I migrated, transitioned to the acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And then I started writing some songs. And then at some point I started working with a classical pianist, which is a mainstream classical pianist in Brazil.
Okay.
Also,
cool.
I think he is kind of world known for playing Chopin, and
Nice.
he won Russian contests or things like that. So I went with as a production member of his team, where he did a tour through the margins of one of the biggest rivers in Brazil, because Brazil has a very large territory, right?
Yeah,
so
it's huge.
One of the biggest rivers that crosses the country. So he had a truck that the truck transformed in a stage. Where he had his Steinway piano.
Way.
Yeah. So he had this very interesting project where we went with a whole, I don't know, maybe 20 people or something, the whole team, to set it up and all that, through the margins of this river, playing for poor communities.
Cool.
Yeah, so there were occasions where some of these cities never seen like a cinema screen, right? Because then he had big cinema screens to project.
Like projectors,
yeah. So it was very, such a huge inspiration.
You got to be a part of this.
Yeah, and it completely inspired me to try and attempt something in music, right?
Totally.
But based on that experience in connecting with people and everything, even being in the backstage, I wasn't involved artistically. Just I was also filming and registering some of his interviews and everything.
Okay.
And then when I came back from that, I started more intensively in writing new songs. And that at the end, one of my dear friends back in Florianopolis, he had some experiences in Rio de Janeiro as a musician with a band there. And he got to know some nice producers and people in the music industry. And he kind of encouraged me to get those songs I had put together, just the vocals and acoustic guitar, and get a producer and record it. And at the end, that resulted in my first album, right? And from then, I just put together a band, and we played probably 50% my songs and the other 50 cover songs.
Okay, yeah.
Got to play a lot live, and that helped me a lot in terms of improving my vocal performance, because I was never a singer. So, and it slowly kept evolving, but always in parallel with other profession, right? I worked with business administration and marketing, advertising. I was always project type of guy, whenever I meet someone and there's need for some new business or something, I got involved in. And And at the end, coming to Canada, I came here because my wife wanted to pursue a new level of education
Uh-huh.
on her profession. So she chose Canada,
Okay.
and she successfully completed the program,
Oh,
and
good for her.
here we are, right? Because
Yeah.
now she has a very nice job,
Mm.
and she evolved very quickly in this new profession she just studied for, which is accounting, which is very rational profession. And that's pretty much it. And when I arrived here, I worked with IT for a while
Okay.
to make ends meet.
Yeah.
That's the expression, right?
Yep.
And after a while, as soon as we got settled down a little bit better, I was able to slowly transition back to music.
Mm.
And now I'm very intense in getting these new songs put together to release. And I took out every previous album. I recorded 3 albums so far. And I took out everything. I wanted to start fresh.
So all that content is no longer online, or you've kind
No.
of moved on, you've left that behind.
Yeah, I just sell it when I play live. I still have some
Oh, you have some physical
examples.
CDs
Yeah,
and stuff?
physical
Oh,
CDs.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good to have.
Yeah. And I intend to maybe, depending on the outcome of this new approach with these new singles I intend to release soon, to maybe remix some of those songs or maybe reproduce them, to because I like some of those songs a lot, still resonate with me and what I'm trying to put out as an artist, and maybe reproducing them to sound a bit more, because
More
I don't know
current,
if,
maybe.
yeah,
hey?
more current, and also because since I began, I had some references that I wanted to sound like, but there's always this gap between what you want to achieve and what you effectively
Yeah.
achieve, right, at the end. So, yeah.
That's cool. So I discovered you when I was coming to and from work, because you were playing on the Canada line, you know, just
Yeah.
jamming, busking, we call it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember hearing, you know, this sound that reminded me of the music from Brazil that I love so much, that, you know, my mom, when I was growing up, was always playing, you know, bossa nova and that sound from Brazil, and like that accent in that language, I can hear it miles away, you know. So I caught you and that sound, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. I went out of my way on my way to work, and I was like, I gotta go meet this guy, or at least give him my card. And here we are now, like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe a year and a half later. Haven't had the privilege of recording any music with you yet, but we're here doing the show, and this is really cool. So I want to know a little bit more about what that experience is like, you know, performing live, and what kind of hours do you work, and what kind of challenges do you face as a street performer?
So the thing that made me decide to play was first when we me and my wife, we went to Granville Island as tourists as soon as we
Okay.
arrived, and
Yeah.
it was immediately one of our favorite places in Vancouver.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
I saw these musicians playing there,
Yeah.
and one of the guys that was playing is Sean. He's a very nice musician, and I just asked him, "Well, what was that? Right?
Yeah.
What was the process
Yeah.
to play there?" And he just quickly explained it to me, and I applied, made an audition, and then I started playing there.
Okay.
I didn't have many plans besides the fact that I missed so much playing live,
Yeah.
and that was one of the outlets, right? That I didn't know anybody here, so I didn't have any network connections where I could play some venues or something.
Yeah, like clubs and stuff like
Yeah.
that, or bars. Yeah.
And then I played some open mics as well initially, and got to know a few people as well. And but the busking thing is very interesting. It's something that as you start doing, it has such an important effect in terms of dealing with people's reaction,
Hmm.
and you kind of have a different perspective on how valuable or not the songs you are playing are,
Oh wow.
because then you people are not paying to see you, right? They are
Yeah.
passing by, so it's a bit more clear what songs
Our
kind of
hits and which ones
gets
aren't.
people
Yes,
attention,
what's
and
resonating with the public, with complete
yeah,
strangers,
yeah,
kind of.
exactly. And also there's the physical aspect involved, because you need to be fit to handle
Going
the
for hours straight,
yeah, and
really. Yeah.
occasionally even pretty cold, right? 0 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
-3, and that's kind of very hard
On
with
the
the
fingers.
hands, yeah, the fingers, and also the vocal cords.
Yeah,
And
man.
so, and then after that, I heard by another musician that plays also on Granville Island about the TransLink. Apparently, TransLink, they hadn't opened new auditions for 3 years or something.
Whoa.
And then he said, "Oh, they just opened for auditions," and I went there as well for the audition, and I joined. I think I started there in 2018.
So there is an actual audition process. It's
Yeah,
beyond like getting the license or just going and doing paperwork. Like they want to check out the talent before they let you go chill in the SkyTrain then.
yeah, exactly.
Wow, okay.
And it was like a panel. There were
No
three
way.
or four people watching. Yeah,
And you come with your best shit and you just play it and hope that they like it then.
yeah. They give you, I think, some 5 minutes or less. I don't recall precisely. And then there's a ring that plays when your time
The
is
buzzers
up. Yeah, there's
play.
kind of a buzzer. But it
Wow.
was nice, and it was pretty packed. There were many
Yeah.
people that
Wow.
went. And they opened again this year, but this year was just online submissions. They didn't have the
Okay.
audition,
Yeah.
presential
Huh.
audition.
Yeah. Okay, so you do your audition and then is there are you paying for a license to be able to do this as well?
Yeah, there's a annual license fee.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, even Grandview and TransLink.
They both have different
Both,
fees.
yeah. And there's one for the city as well, but I'm not very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Because there's Grandview streets. There are some places that you can bus.
Yeah, they have designated areas.
Yeah.
They have those little signs with the music note. I
Oh,
think,
yeah, I never saw
on the
that.
street.
Okay.
I've noticed them, and I'm assuming that means like this is a designated, because they've got that one over. It used to be Future Shop. It's Best Buy at like Robson in Granville at the corner there, and there's always like people with a little amp and a guitar, or a girl with a microphone, and
Yeah.
that's a hot spot. And then there's the spot right outside
Mm-hmm.
the Canada line, and then obviously right down inside, and that's probably where you want to be in the winter, right? Or on most days in Vancouver because of how much rain we get.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That's one of the advantages of the TransLink.
Yeah.
Because Grandview, if it's raining, even if it is covered, but at the same time, there's less people, right? The audience is.
You're really only reaching the people that are coming in and out of the train and maybe going over to Tim Hortons there. But if you're on the street, your sound resonates for blocks and blocks, right? So you are reaching a lot more people that way. That's really interesting, though, what you said about realizing when you're performing for complete strangers which songs get the reactions, or maybe when you play certain songs you notice that people are coming up and dropping loonies in your hat more often for certain songs than other songs.
Yeah.
Interesting. And do you find that those songs are is it a surprise usually, or is it songs that are your favorites that you think we're going to do well as well?
I think I'm not sure if I was surprised. It's a matter of what's a bit more commercial or what's a bit more complex arrangement or musicianship aspect of it, if it's kind of difficult. So it's different targets, right? So there are people that like the more complex things, intricate arrangements, and there are people that just like the
chorus.
Yeah, and the top line melody that immediately gets in there.
Yeah, definitely. There's the guitar players that are going to appreciate the intricate fret work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And noticing which age groups respond to what and what, demographics and all that stuff. So that's got to be really valuable. They should do studies on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure some people have figured it out.
There's one podcast, I don't know if you're familiar with, the And the writer is with Ross Golan. He's one songwriter. There are many podcasts, right? But one of the interviewees said that he went busking whenever he could, even though he being already financially successful, in order to still have that
Wow.
that
Yeah.
feedback of people,
The
right?
feedback
Yeah,
is
it's a lot
so
different than
valuable.
when you're playing on a concert that you were paid and people paid to see
Paid to
you.
come and see you, and
Yeah,
you know they're down with your stuff already.
exactly. Yeah.
Dude, game changer.
Mm.
So did that, or has that to this point changed the way that you write new songs?
I don't think that this aspect did that, but the thing that helped me a lot was when I write a new song
Mm-hmm.
and I test it out.
Yeah.
And not only people's reactions, but how I feel playing the song.
Okay.
Right? So it's the other way around, right? It's not because I always wanted to write songs that I feel happy and at the same time that are translatable, are not in the sense of lyrics, but that people can relate to and
Yep.
feel emotions by
Mhm.
listening to them. So there was a process that I already was developing before playing or busking, right? But I would say that maybe top line melody,
Mhm.
it was influenced a little bit by the experience of
Yeah.
busking. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a science to writing a hit,
Mm.
you know, for
Yeah,
sure. Every year the Billboard they release like a list of what key the top songs that year were written in, like C major, you know, D minor, all these, and there's people respond universally to certain sounds and to certain structures.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you can explain that, but there is something going on subconsciously in our DNA or in our, you know, on our souls, whatever, that we're all responding together to certain, you know, tempos,
Yeah.
key signatures, all these things. And music is really magical that way. We don't even have a choice ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you shared with me a really cool video you had filmed recently. Are we allowed to talk about that? Is that released?
It's almost. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working on it, but
Okay.
it's I'm working on 2 songs now, one in Portuguese and one in English.
Okay.
And I intend to release them soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about
Sure.
the one where you were in the mountains?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Whereabouts was that?
It was at Whistler.
Oh, you went to Whistler. Nice.
Yeah. That wasn't planned actually. A couple of friends invited us to go there, and me and my wife just quickly, let's try making a take
Okay.
of you singing on the snow.
Yeah.
Right. And I just brought a jacket, and I removed the thick clothes, right, that I had, because it was, I don't know, -12 or something,
Damn.
-10. And it was kind of funny because when we were filming, she was filming me, and I was kind of walking towards her with these clothes and holding a speaker. And as we noticed, Justin Trudeau was kind of 10 steps away from us. He was skiing as well.
Trudeau was there.
Yeah, and there was like 5 security.
Oh my God.
They thought I was, something, maybe someone trying to interview him or something.
Oh, okay, because you were making a lot of racket in the mountain with your speaker.
I think, no, the speaker was actually quiet, but by my clothing, right? I had very thin clothes. It wasn't a fit for that moment, right?
see.
What's this guy doing with
On the mountain in these
but
clothes.
actually, as soon as I realized, oh my God, I'm gonna be arrested or something, right? These guys think I'm a threat or something.
Oh, wow.
But they were actually very kind, and it was
And
nice.
you explained the situation. They let you...
I didn't even have
Oh,
to
you didn't
explain.
have to.
They just, I don't know, maybe even didn't even notice me there. But we took a picture of that, and I'm not sure I'm gonna keep that in the video clip because we had kind of 10 minutes. Her hands were kind of shaking a lot. She was freezing, and the focus wasn't precise on
Okay.
me, and the lighting wasn't very good. So we are on the fence if we are gonna release it with my image or
Okay.
not, or
Okay.
just maybe the scenery, right?
Yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot more than in that clip that you showed me. Like there always is. You always film way more than you need, and you've got all this extra footage. So yeah, maybe some of the other stuff you can use for some alternate takes or a whole different angle. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
when you're doing a video like that, are you coming up with the concept, or are you working with like a director or someone doing a storyboard for you, or how does that usually go?
No, actually, I just thought that these kind of stock images that we had from places we got to visit here in Vancouver, it's such beautiful scenery, and it kind of fits the lyrics. So as I wrote the song, I was always being reminded while I wrote the lyrics to those places that we visited. So
Okay.
it just made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone we were talking about that the other day as well. On you know, when an artist writes lyrics, they can almost see the video already when they're putting the ink on the page. They're already in a place mentally, and they can see things, and then so it's almost like it writes itself. You know, there's a
Yeah.
visual component going along already. Because when you feel inspired, man, like it's a rush. It all comes to you at once, right?
Yeah.
Who are some of your inspirations for songwriting, or just people that you like, that you listen to?
For songwriting in particular, I have I'm not very attached to artists, but I would say the artist that I was listening to a lot when I transitioned to the acoustic guitar was John Mayer
Oh yeah.
and Jorge Drexler,
Okay.
which is that guy that won the Oscar for Diaries of the Motorcycle Diaries, that film, and he made the soundtrack.
Oh,
It's
was that a
a
documentary?
No, I think
No.
it's a Che Guevara movie or
Oh
something.
shoot. Okay, I
I don't
missed that.
recall. Yeah, so that guy I like a lot. His playing. It's a bit more world music, but he also blends pop music very nicely. Um, he has kind of an interesting take in songwriting. But then I stopped listening to those references, and now I listen a lot to songs that Spotify just suggests based on my musical
Previous
taste.
listening taste, yeah.
Yeah, and I always save the songs that I want to listen once more.
Okay.
There are songs that you listen, you think, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And there are songs that you want to keep, oh, I need to hear this, I need to listen to this again,
I know
right?
the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever sticks in my mind in a way that I want to listen to that song again, I pay attention to the songwriting.
Cool.
I try to see
Yeah.
why that got caught my attention so strongly, right?
And yeah, and so you're studying it, really, like breaking it down, looking at like the structure and the timing, and you know, how many seconds until the first chorus came in, or that kind of stuff. I mean, those are the things they teach producers in school, right? You know, remember that, learning about that formula. The typical pop song has, within 30 seconds is when you'll hear the first chorus. Like,
Yeah.
you know, something like a Katy Perry or a Ariana Grande or something like that. Those big pop records. Do you find you're listening more to Portuguese music or English speaking music?
No, since I recall, I mostly listen to mainstream world music.
World.
Not world genre, world I mean in English, and mainstream pop, right?
Okay, yeah.
That was the thing I listened the most. Back when I played the drums, I listened a lot to progressive rock and Rush, Yes, and Dream Theater, bands with intricate arrangements
Yeah.
because of the drums.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But at the same time, the songwriting is very nice. It's just in a way that it's a lot different than pop music, right? But nowadays, I think I listen more pop. I had hip hop moments. I listened a lot to hip hop, and then I went back to pop.
Who were you listening to? What kind of rappers were you listening to? I'm curious.
What would you guess?
Well, I mean, hopefully someone lyrical, because you're a songwriter yourself, and I can, anything from the '90s,
Mm, I think that was
that whole decade,
2005 or something.
2005.
I listen a lot to Kanye West.
Kanye West,
Yeah,
his earlier
the
stuff.
Graduation
Yeah.
album.
Mm-hmm.
What was then? Stronger. After Stronger, the single Stronger, I think I transitioned to other things.
See, I wouldn't even call that hip hop. Like Kanye after
Rap,
College
right?
Dropout, I would just call that pop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, when I think hip hop, I think like, Kendrick Lamar is hip hop.
Oh, I see.
A Tribe Called Quest is hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
There's J. Cole is hip hop. People that are. It's a lot more about the words and the lyrics. Kanye West is. I'm not in any way knocking him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a phenomenal musician, but especially that Graduation album,
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal production. But when that came out, I was like, oh wow, like this is we're going in a whole new direction here.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun to listen to. But yeah, I don't know. For me, like that would be like more pop.
Mm-hmm.
Still like very radio friendly. He may be rapping on it
I see.
a little bit, but yeah, that's just me being like a hip hop snob.
No, but it
so I apologize.
It makes total sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Common?
Yeah. Oh God, Common, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys I grew up listening to.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, like those are my,
Mm-hmm.
my top guys for sure.
Mm-hmm.
People like Nas,
Mm.
one of my top guys, very lyrical, even to this day, even in an age with, the SoundCloud rapper generation. Those guys are still making like words and rhyming things that like you have to listen back to it 3 or 4 times to catch what he just said. That's cool, because I was actually going to ask you, like, have you ever considered branching out into another genre or trying something? But you were flirting with it and at least listening to some different things for a bit, hey? And did you take anything away from that experience of listening to different genres? Like,
I think before that, there's a song by this Jorge Drexler where it's kind of a rap, and it's in Spanish.
oh, cool.
And I think that influenced me in a way that I wrote kind of so far 3 or 4 songs where I kind of attempt to rap on them.
Okay.
So that was how impactful it was for me, but I never felt I would be an artist in that genre.
At the end of the day, it's just about rhyming words on the beat. And you're already doing that with what you're doing, but just to a different BPM, right?
Yeah.
One of my good friends is an incredible songwriter. Like yourself, he does the vocals, plays the guitar, plays the bass, but that's his genre. Like he's making like singer-songwriter stuff, but he can also write like unbelievable rhymes, and that's just part of his artistic brain, is just be able to put words together and have metaphors and similes and things like that. It's poetry at the end of the day, right? We're writing poetry, these songs, all of it, but hip hop just happens to be a little faster.
Yeah, a lot faster.
A lot faster sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up.
Eminem as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, man, that, when people talk about writing real, like stuff that's real, stuff that is so honest, and just like that's why I think people just die for him. It's just because he's spilling his soul in these songs, talking about his daughter and his crazy wife and his mother that abused him, and it's just like, god damn, dude, it's like peeking into his personal diary. And people resonate with that shit when they're having hard times and their lives are shitty, and then he's not writing songs about girls. And I mean, there are occasionally, maybe he has 50 Cent on a song and they make a party song, but for the most part, right, it's like you're peeking into this guy's personal life. That's why he's the best-selling rapper of all time, for a reason, right? And people can learn from that, resonate, write real shit.
Yeah.
I never was a big fan of his because I always found him a bit like a tad negative.
Mm.
I was always into those guys like Common, like you said, and Talib Kweli, and those more like what would you call them? You know, not spiritual, but just like introspective, you know, conscious rappers. Some people would call them. But when I do, you know, I do my homework and I go back and listen to stuff that I hadn't listened to before because I have Apple Music now, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when I hear Eminem, it's just like you can't not be impressed. You can't not. It's just gives you goosebumps.
Mm.
It's one of those, like I was saying before, like you don't have a choice sometimes with music. It does something
Mm-hmm.
to you, even if I wouldn't consider myself a fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's times when I've heard some of his songs and I just get goosebumps. I'm like, damn. I don't know if it's Dr. Dre's production or how hard he's going on the microphone,
Mm-hmm.
and then a combination of the lyrics, but yeah, it all works together, and then it just gives you a feeling. So that's what we're trying to do, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
resonate, connect with people.
Mm.
So what's next for you? Like, are we going to be expecting an EP from you or some new singles? You said you had those couple videos that you're working on right now. Like, what's the next big thing that you're working on right now that's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, these last few years, I kind of lost the interest to release material just for releasing it, because back then the excitement was so intense in terms of putting the material together that I wanted to release without thinking too much.
Okay.
But now I have already released things, and I have the experience of not achieving commercial success
Mm.
with those things that it won't hurt anyone if I don't release it. So I'm trying to release when I really feel that the material has potential,
Okay.
you know?
Okay.
So that is taking a while. And also other technical aspects, I'm transitioning from Ableton Live to Logic because of mostly because of the approach that Logic intends to from ground. You know, when they released Logic with Steve Jobs, where they brought John Mayer, I think there was GarageBand, but they had this intention of have tones and presets
Mm-hmm.
the way musicians, instrumentalists are used to
Okay.
use, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with the knobs and everything.
Right.
So, and Ableton Live was very electronic oriented.
I get that
So-
impression. Yeah, that it is.
And I produced for many years in Ableton, and I had so much trouble tweaking things in order to sound close to
I
the
see.
real thing, you know, to
Yeah.
the analog thing.
Right.
And now I'm transitioning to Logic.
Okay. Welcome.
Also ARA, right? ARA Melodyne. Oh my God, that's amazing.
That for vocal tuning? Is that
Yeah,
a
because
new...
now you don't need to transfer to Melodyne. You just open and it just
You can open it within the DAW?
exactly, you open and
Oh.
it edits without needing to override it. You can that's wow, mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because I use, let's say, one of these songs I'm working on, I didn't have a bass guitar yet.
Okay.
So I just tuned down the 5th and 6th string of the electric guitar and played as a bass.
Oh, wow.
And then just tuned it in Melodyne, right?
How crazy.
Yeah, oh my God, it's so convenient, Melodyne.
And then just throw an EQ on and boost your lows a little bit, and then you've got a
No, I think
bass line.
I was pretty happy with the frequency range
Yeah,
of the
okay.
guitar.
Okay.
Which also it may be a good strategy for me, particularly because I'm not a bass player. So because of the strings, they are so how do you say, they are so they are not steady, right? Because they are so loose.
On the bass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the electric guitar, if you tune it down 1 octave,
Yeah, see, I've never played guitar, so I'm not familiar,
Okay.
but tell me more. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say that the instrument has the proper attention on the strings, where if you play it, it resonates, it bounces, but
Right.
it bounces steady for that instrument.
Okay.
But if you tune it down less than an octave, it starts to bounce too much. So if you play a note, it will get out of tune while it bounces, right?
Oh.
Ooh, something like that.
Okay.
So if while I was playing the sixth string on the electric guitar, if you play too hard, it will. So
Right.
you have to play very softly in order to get a proper sense of the bass.
I see.
So by that sense, I needed to play few notes, and then it properly matched the arrangement.
Yeah.
Because sometimes one of the things, if I'm to say one of the most important things that you get through trying for so many years, is the sense of knowing when something sucks, where you just lose those hours, right? You don't are attached. You are not attached. Occasionally, I stay like 3 or 4 hours trying to record some electric guitar
Yeah.
idea, and when you get that feeling when you listen to it, and when you have the judgment, this won't aggregate to the song. This
Yeah.
is not collaborating. This is or distracting or getting the attention from the top line melody, right? So that's one of the aspects of so many hours put into it, right?
Yeah.
When you get that judgment.
You've gotten good at that now. You're saying realizing when to quit or
Less
when
is
to
more.
just let go of it, and
also
yeah.
less is more, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's hard to just acknowledge that you just wasted one day attempting something, but it didn't collaborate to the song, right?
Yeah, yeah, or even when I'm making beats, for example, I'll spend hours, and those beats might never turn into anything. They might never get used by anyone or myself. But then the 8th or 9th or 10th one, I'll get into the zone and I'll be inspired. But I had to go through that first batch of hours of, quote unquote, wasted time to get to that special moment. So sometimes you can't predict it. You just have to put the hours in.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of like big producers and celebrity artists say that, like, you just have to put the work in. You can't just expect to sit down and write a hit. You have to actually work. You have to work it out. You have to put the hours in and commit and just, persist through all the, the uninspired recording hours. And then eventually you'll have like, hopefully that eureka moment, or you never know when you're going to feel inspired. That kind of brings me to one of the other questions I wanted to ask was, how do you, like, what is your writing process like? Will you set time out of your day to say, I'm going to eat lunch and then I'm going to write for 2 hours. I'm going to try and write some lyrics now. Or will it be like something that wakes you up at night and be like, oh, fuck, I got to go write this down? Or like, what, do you have a formula, or do you have rules for how that works?
From last year or maybe 2 years, I'm trying to put this as a 9 to 5 job.
Wow.
So
Okay.
back when I was in parallel dealing with music and other subjects, there were occasions where I dreamed with songs.
Wow.
And then I tried to register the best I could when I got awake. And nowadays it's something more, not completely rational, but sit down and write.
Yeah.
That's the approach. And because at the end of the day, the songwriting is so important on a song, right? The way I observed comparing my previous and other productions is that whenever the songwriting part is good, the rest will evolve smoother and it will be more refined. But if you don't put much time to songwriting, you will find yourself trying to fix when something that you don't even know what needs to be fixed. And usually it's the songwriting.
Right.
So now I just evolved to production.
Yeah.
When I play a song, let's say with the root notes like a bass, just a root note and the vocal melody.
Uh-huh.
If that sounds interesting enough, I move to the next stage.
Cool.
Unless
Yes.
I don't, right?
Yeah, having the good foundation, having the essential building blocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like if you're finding that you're reaching for effects and lots of EQ and delays and reverbs to make it more interesting,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably not. Like it should kind of stand on its own as just like catchy and right away.
Mm-hmm. And that I'm saying, but maybe it's not very applicable in hip hop and rap, right? Because it's different. The songwriting, I would assume it's a lot different. So
Yeah, I can be, but I try and keep like if I'm making a beat, like obviously drums, but then, maybe just only two other instruments. Like I think of some of the best hip hop instrumentals ever, and they're just like three ingredients, like House of Pain or whatever. It's just that sample and the drums, or some of the Dr. Dre songs, like drums, a bass line, and a little bit of piano sprinkled in there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and you're just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
like dun, 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 still Dre, like
Yeah.
from the Chronic, like it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you try and keep it just the base ingredients really good,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest of it'll write itself, man.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take care of itself. You won't have to, put a lot of hot sauce and salt and pepper on it after.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. And that same kind of philosophy, I try and apply that same philosophy to actually recording as well. Over the years, as long as I've been doing this now, I've realized how important it is in the beginning to set up your recording so that you don't have to mix too hard afterwards. You don't have to fix a bad recording.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, get your mic pre to the right tone and the right level, and then have the artist the right distance from the microphone. Good recordings mix themselves.
Yeah.
They really do.
The 0 dB faders, right? Idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just simplify it. Do a little bit of extra prep work before, and then like the amount of times I've just gone close to madness trying to fix vocals that were like oversaturated because the compressor was driven too hard or the gain was turned up, and I'm trying to EQ it for hours, and I'm just driving myself nuts when I wish I had just spent 2 extra minutes to get the gain right, get the tone right.
Yeah.
Because then when I do have those recordings I'm like, fuck, this is working, man. Like a little bit of compression, bit of EQ, and forget it.
Yeah.
And it's so nice. It takes care of itself. So there's something to be said, for getting it right in the beginning. Have a good, strong foundation, and then everything will build off of that. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
Are you doing any recording yourself, like at home, doing little demos before you take them to a studio? Because you mentioned that you do have like an interface and stuff like that. Like, so what do you use that for mostly?
I'm using, because usually it takes so long for me to record. I usually do so many takes that it's kind of impractical to go to a studio.
I
So
see.
I always try to find a setup that I was able to just do on my own.
Okay.
So I'm currently relying on a Neumann KMS 105.
Okay.
Because it gives the sense of a large condenser, but it isn't a large condenser. It is a condenser, but it gets that vibe. But at the same time, it's not that prone to background noise, or because I'm not in a recording studio properly.
Do you have like one of those vocal shields? Like
No,
something
I'm
like
not
this,
even
or-
using that.
No.
I will probably get one of those. I was looking at that kind of egg-shaped one, right?
Yeah. They've got some pretty new, cool shapes out there.
Yeah. And so after that, I'm using Isotope RX whenever there's something that I need to remove.
Yep. Like
And
background noise, refrigerator.
Background, yeah, yeah. So occasionally some low-end frequencies
Yeah.
from a truck on the street
Yep.
or something, right? But ideally, I would say that my goal is to have mixing and mastering outside my workflow.
Okay.
Right, so let's say mix with you and a mastering engineer,
Mm-hmm.
because oh my God, I think it would be so beneficial to have a fresh perspective. And
Yeah.
it's something I did in my first two albums, but on a third, I was already transitioning and traveling, so I
Yeah.
did it all on my own. But I want to get back to that and mixing and mastering.
Yeah, I have a friend who has a similar approach where he prefers not to be in the studio, and even though, I was like, even though you're paying an engineer, he's like, yeah, I just feel like I'm not wasting their time, but I'm on their time and I can't be on my
Mm.
time, and he just
Mm.
really he has to have his own, his space and his in his crib and his certain time of day when he's feeling inspired, and he can do as many takes as he wants, and he actually likes to record sitting down so that he doesn't have to stand up and press record and then you can go up and down. He just sits and has the laptop there and he does his takes and he does it on his own pace and he can get into the zone, right? You know, and then, if you can afford it, get some good quality recordings at home, and then, send your stems to a mixer and then send those to a mastering engineer. That's the ideal approach, right? So you get that many more sets of ears on it, and you can get really polished end result. Are you do you have like a little booth, or is it just sort of in a bedroom?
It depends on how the vocal take, what's the intensity of the vocals. If
right.
it is a more intimate or low volume,
Yeah.
I have I use a closet as a booth.
Cool.
And I got one of those Apogee one, so to plug the mic and it's working out whenever I need to sing a bit louder.
Yeah.
And occasionally for backing vocals, I just record with that Neumann. It works out, even on the living room.
Cool. Okay.
And duet too, and able to now transition to Logic.
Transitioning to Logic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for you, man. I've been using Logic really since day one. Like I started with GarageBand, but Logic is basically GarageBand just on steroids. It looks the same. It's made by Apple. It's all, if you know how to use that, you know how to use Logic. But it's great because it comes with, tens of thousands of free loops that are royalty free, drums and bass lines and keyboards and pianos. It's outrageous. And, for someone like yourself with a home studio setup like that, you just need to throw a little bit of a drum loop on there on your guitar and your vocal, and then build from there. Like, it's so great to throw stuff together so quickly. And then if you don't exactly like your 8-bar loop that they've provided, a lot of the time I'll just chop it into 4 because I don't like the hi-hat pattern on the last 4 bars, and I'll just recycle the first 4 bars and make a loop out of that, or stuff like that. It's really really fun. You just go on forever, like searching through loops. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you do have to do a bit of digging and it takes a while, but once in a while I just get start with a good bass line. I might throw something on my own with my MIDI keyboard, but then all the loops are right there, and shows you the BPM, shows you the key. So it's so intuitively, beautifully Apple that way, right? So yeah, excited to see what you come up with the new Logic setup.
And one other aspect that, oh my God, helped me a lot in terms of EQing is the SonarWorks reference 4. Which is the
haven't used that.
Yeah, it has profiles for the most sold headphones, mixing headphones. So it kind of flattens out the frequency curve. And there's even an option where you can buy from them where they calibrate on the factory, so they send it to you, the headphone. So it's precision of 0.5 dB or something, where it's completely flat. And it helped me a lot to mix, to get the proper EQ. And they also have the calibration microphone where oh my God, it takes, I think, 25 minutes or so, where you can just moving. There's a graph on the computer where
Yeah.
it shows where you need to place the microphone, and it just emits these sounds from your speakers, and then
Wow.
it makes a personalized EQ curve where your speakers get flat.
Whoa.
Oh my God, it's so convenient. And then the result, I saw this because whenever I got a preview mix of mine to a nicer facility, I noticed the low end was a lot off,
Yeah,
and
that's the
some
hard
other
part.
frequencies. And then I brought this to this professional mastering studio here, and I was so happy to the result. It was almost there, in
Wow.
terms of balance.
Yeah.
But I would recommend that to anyone. There are some other brands as well, but
Mhm.
this one from Sonarworks, oh my God, it's unbelievable. Very nice.
That does sound enticing. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know for sure that your room is treated correctly, or you don't have the opportunity to mix in a pro studio, like that sounds like it would be super valuable.
Yeah, and sometimes when you are tracking, when you're recording, you think you have a tone, but actually you don't because your headphone is not
It's
calibrated.
lying to you. Like, yeah.
You think that's the way it that's the way it sounds, but it actually isn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that feeling. When I used to mix in headphones a lot, and before I had the setup I have now, and I would, do everything in my bedroom studio at the time, and then I'd take it somewhere else and listen to it there, and it just sounded like I was drunk when I made it, or like I had a pillow on my head, and I was like, I can't believe how different it sounds in this other environment, like on this other system. Like it's so important to, you don't necessarily have to have the most expensive gear, but you just have to know your gear.
Yeah.
Is what I've learned, and I've heard people say that over and over again. It's like, you don't need those $5,000 monitors. Yours are okay, but just get to know what they sound like and get to know how other stuff sounds in your room, so you have a really good reference point.
Yeah.
Because you can work wonders if you know how to use it really well. At the end of the day, it's just a tool, like it's a paintbrush.
Yeah.
And it's the artist that's using it and the technique, not so much the bristles or how much that paintbrush cost.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So Logic is really fun, man. You're gonna enjoy that. And with your new Sonarworks.
Yeah, Sonarworks, I think it's called. They have two versions. One is the reference for headphones, because you can buy just for headphones, and the reference for studio, which includes the software to calibrate the monitors of your studio.
Damn, I'm gonna have to check that out. Do they have like a demo version? Do you know, on their website?
They have the demo version for the. I'm not sure for maybe the studio as well, because then the special thing about it is that you can buy calibration microphones from other brands.
Okay.
But the one they sent you from factory, they calibrate the microphone.
Damn.
So when you install the software, you put the serial number of it, so it downloads the EQ so that your microphone is also flat.
Wow, so they build it for you and then send it to you?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's so smart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like cheating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So, where can people check you out right now if they want to go and listen to some of your stuff?
Probably in a month or so, I'll have at least one single on the streaming services. It will be, if you go to my website, and I'll have links there, which is henrikee.com. It's spelled a bit differently. It's HENRIKEE.com.
Okay.
And besides that, I'm not sure exactly. I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do in terms if I will try to have some other outlets on the internet, maybe a YouTube channel or something. But I still haven't figured out. I'm very focused now in songwriting and attempting to find collaboration in songwriting.
Yeah. Okay.
I approached SoCan, starting to get to know some songwriters on the music scene. But it's kind of interpersonal relationships, right? It's something that can't be forced. It has to have kind of a bond or some type of it needs to be a fit, right?
You're not hiring someone to build a wall. Like there's got to be a vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully I'll find some co-writers, and also occasionally still busking.
Good.
To
Great.
keep fresh and
Downtown, Granville Island, or more on the SkyTrain?
both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But at least, I don't know, maybe twice a month or something, twice or 3 times a month.
And we're gonna, be ending the rainy season hopefully soon. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe we'll see you out there a little bit more.
Yeah. Or hopefully on gigs, right? And I want so much to get into the scene and maybe festivals and
Yeah, that'd be nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because these festivals, it is usually, 20 minutes or something, so...
Yeah, because they've got
Yeah.
a ton of acts lined
Yeah,
up, so everyone
exactly.
gets 20 minutes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I've only done one festival that was in Victoria.
Mm.
It's not that we're talking totally different thing here, but that was like a French language festival.
Okay.
Yeah, they gave me a whole hour, but
Oh.
there weren't that many people on the bill. I was the hip hop portion,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like the jazz portion, they had like the African drumming portion, and they had like but it was all focused. It was a festival francophonie,
Okay.
like French speaking culture festival.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so if people want to check you out on social media, what's the IG?
I would.
Instagram.
There's Facebook.
You on Facebook?
Facebook. It's by.henrikee.
Okay,
And also the same on Instagram.
perfect.
But you may be disappointed because I'm not very active in social media. Hopefully I'll get better at that because it's so important, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be good at it as much as consistent with it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting things out. But yeah, we'll get people links to the website, man, when this episode drops.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll share your social media and the website with
Okay,
everybody. And hopefully by then, we'll have an announcement for some new stuff on the way, but at least they'll know where to check you out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a lot of fun. And thank you guys for checking the episode out, and have a fantastic week. Talk to you soon. Peace.